UFC 300 has concluded. In the only way I can describe it would be the greatest night of fights I've ever seen, the greatest night of combat sports history. I don't know how you can really disagree with that. I don't know what different fight cards you would pick as would rival that, but I think most people are in agreement that UFC 300 was the greatest night in UFC history, in combat sports history. Let's just get right into it, starting with the main event. We'll end with the prelims. We'll start with Alex Peirera versus Jamahal Hill. I'm kind of upset that this fight only went 2.5 minutes. I kind of wanted to see this kind of head towards the championship rounds because I wanted to see how Jamahal Hill would be after injury. We still don't really know. But at the same time, it's almost good that he got KO'd because I think it's all collectively understood that he came back too early. I would think even a doctor would say so as well. So now he can get some time off. And Alex Peirera looked very good. His leg kicks were in question for this fight because Jamahal Hill's a southpaw, and we were wondering how that would fare, how he would fare to leg kick a southpaw, even though other fighters have not really had any problems with it. I mean, Justin Gaethje was beating Dustin Poirier's legs in both fights, so I'm not really sure why that was just like a big thing, why they thought that his leg kicks were just going to be obsolete because he's a southpaw. That didn't really make any sense to me. He has a good lead leg kick. He has a good rear leg kick. Like, I didn't really understand that, but we saw that was a pretty pointless concern. His leg kicks looked pretty fine. At the end of the fight, he said that he made some mistakes with the leg kicks. I'm not really sure what those would be. I've watched the fight 2 or 3 times. I didn't really see any mistakes, to be honest. I personally don't think he made any mistakes at all. The fight was 2.5 minutes long. He was hit with 2 punches the entire fight. One was to the head, and one was a right hook over. What was it? The first minute? I think it was the first minute of the fight. I believe it was the first combo that Jamahal Hill threw, and then I think he had a jab to the body, which landed. Obviously, Peirera took 0 damage at all. Maybe he was talking about it. Him checking the leg kicks, because I think he got hit with about 8 or 9 leg kicks in those first few minutes. And I also didn't want to see this fight go longer because, like I said, I wanted to see Alex Peirera versus a really technical and accurate striker. And I know that Jamahal Hill, he's very telegraphed when he throws. And I mean, like, we haven't really seen, like, we saw him against Izzy, but that was at 185. We want to see him against a different style of fighter, one that's kind of aggressive, one that will kind of try to walk you down. We didn't get to see that, but Jamahal Hill hit him with a low blow, which we all thought was a low blow, and then Alex Peirera shoved Herb Dean out of the way, and then seconds later KO'd him out cold. He was out before he even hit the canvas, and then followed up with about 15 ground-and-pound shots and became champion, did the little celebration with the hands. It was pretty cool. I was in a movie theater when I watched this. It was the first time I've ever been in a theater watching the fights. It was definitely an experience. I'm definitely going to go back for sure. But yeah, I got to be happy. I'm also a little bit upset because I like Jamahal Hill a lot. He comes from where I'm from, so I'm always going to have a soft spot for any fighter from Michigan. You know what I mean? We don't have too many. We got Cody Stamen, we got Jakar Close, who fights, I think, next week. We don't have too many people, so anybody from Michigan I'm always going to support. So, next fight, we got Weili Zhang versus Xionan. A pretty interesting fight. There was some controversy in the first round where Zhang Weili held on to... And see, in my opinion, I didn't see anybody say this, but, I mean, we saw, obviously, Xionan go out from the rear naked choke. I don't know why no one's saying or commenting on the fact that Zhang Weili held for like 2 seconds after the buzzer. No one's really commenting about that. I'm not going to say that. I mean, honestly, you could say that was the reason why she was out, because maybe 2 seconds without being choked, maybe she wouldn't have been, you know. But this was actually a very good fight. A lot of people left the theater when this fight came on. Didn't really surprise me. But my cat is now on my thing, so sorry about that. Watch out, dude. Where was I at? Oh, so yeah, Xionan, I mean, she got relatively dominated. This is what I expected. I picked Weili Zhang by 49-46 decision. That is indeed what happened. However, we kind of saw some weaknesses from Weili. We saw in round, I want to say it was round 2, round 3, she kind of gassed her arms out because she had Xionan in very dominant positions, and she was threatening submissions basically the whole fight. And Xionan is a fucking killer, by the way. I mean, she survived after actually being tapped out. She survived getting TKO'd in round 2. Man, if that was any other referee there stopping that fight, I was very shocked that fight did not get stopped. I mean, there was just completely defenseless shots. I mean, I didn't even hear him yell at her to fight back. I'm pretty impressed that fight didn't get called off. But I'm also impressed that Xionan really lasted throughout that whole fight. Where was that? Oh yeah. So we saw some weaknesses with Zhang Weili. She actually got dropped twice, because she was getting real lazy. And also, like I said, she was gassed out. Her arms were gassed out, and she kind of relies on her what's the word? She relies on her what the fuck's the word, man? On her brute strength, her brute force, because she's definitely on the sauce. She's a manly woman, we'll say. She relies on her physicality. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. She relies on her physicality a lot, and when that couldn't really be to her advantage, she was kind of getting pieced up on the feet. And like I said, she got dropped 2 times, but I mean, she had a very good round 5, very good bounce back round 5. She got dropped in round 4, and I want to say round 3, maybe round 2. But this was actually a very good fight. I was impressed. Next fight. Probably the fight. This is the fight of the year. This is the knockout of the year. This is the performance of the year. This is, I mean, so far the upset of the year. But like, I mean, it wasn't the craziest upset. But still, the best fucking fight I've ever seen. The best knockout I've ever seen. Just everything from this fight, it exceeded expectations beyond belief. And this is probably, I would say, yeah, this is definitely the best fight I've ever seen. BMF belt, Justin Gaethje gets KO'd with a second left in the fight. Very sad to see. But Max Holloway really fucking impressed me. And I did not expect him to look this good. I picked Justin Gaethje by 48-47 decision. I thought Gaethje's output and power were going to be he was kind of going to show levels a little bit. Not levels like this, more levels like this. But I thought the change in weight class and the significant bulk that Max Holloway took, I thought that was going to have an effect on his speed. And he really fucking wowed me. He won every round except I want to say it was round 2. And that fight was kind of a swing round. Nothing even really eventful happened in that round. Max Holloway was just, like Justin Gaethje's always been reactionary when he gets hit. You know, he doesn't really have a good poker face. He'll you know, if he gets hit with a 1-2, he'll lean back. If he gets stumbled, he's gonna stumble. Like I said, he's always been a pretty reactionary guy, but it just seemed like every single combination that Max Holloway was throwing and landing were severely affecting Justin Gaethje, and we've never seen Max Holloway with this kind of power. So maybe he's just got different power at 155. I would say that probably is the case. But he just looked fucking great. He was throwing a ton of spinning back kicks. Threw a spinning back kick in the first round that broke Gaethje's nose. Wasn't throwing as much leg kicks early on. He kind of started throwing those later on. But he was just mixing it up. He was just looking the best we've ever seen. We've never seen Max Holloway look any better. And honestly, this just almost makes Volkanovski look even more impressive. Like, how did Volkanovski lose a total of 3 rounds in 3 fights against this guy? Like, that's fucking insane. You win 12 out of 15 rounds. Like, that's ridiculous. We've never seen Holloway look like this. I mean, and like I said, maybe that's just because Holloway had the style to beat him, and maybe that's because he feels more comfortable at 55, doesn't have to go through as severe of a weight cut, didn't look drained at all, looked like his damn self, and just gave an overall tremendous, amazing performance. Pointed to the center of the cage with the last 10 seconds to stand and bang. Didn't need to do that at all. Was up 3-1, on his way to win 4-1. And he fucking KOs him with like an overhand right hook, kinda, and puts him out cold. Dude, this was the coolest fucking moment because, like I said, I was in a movie there, so you had, I mean, most seats were taken, so you had probably 50 people in there. Everyone is just getting hype as fuck. Everyone was jumping up and down, running down the stairs. You're high-fiving random people. Like, it was just such a fucking cool moment. And it's probably the best moment I've ever experienced as an MMA fan. I don't think anything will ever top this fight card. 299 was great. 290 was great. And obviously some from back in the day are great. But nothing will beat 300 and just everything about it. It was just stars from top to bottom. Great performances from top to bottom. Next fight will go Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed in Charles Oliveira, but I'm not really happy with how he fought. I think he should have been more aggressive. I think he was kind of letting himself get walked down a lot on the feet, which is really weird. And I understand that Charles may have been, fearing the takedown, but at the same time, I don't really think Charles fears being on his back. I think he's almost too comfortable on his back, and I think that's a big problem for him. And he's too comfortable on his back against wrestlers too, especially Islam Makhachev, and that's just going to be to your detriment every time, because you're not going to be, because he's the best jiu-jitsu player in the sport. Anybody he's going against is going to be inferior to him. So he's going to be comfortable because he's the best submission artist the sport's ever seen. But when you have these wrestlers that can really just pin you down and can really rain down elbows and rain down ground and pound and fight for positions, he just gets too comfortable when he shouldn't be. And I'm not happy with how he fought. I'm very, very shocked that Tsarukyan got out of the first round guillotine. That was tight as fuck, and that was in there for a really long time. And Charles also pulled Darce at the end of round 3. And people are saying robbery. It's not a robbery. It was a close fight. Yes, it was not a robbery. I'm the biggest Charles fan in the damn Northeast, in the Midwest, and dude, this was not a robbery at all. He clearly lost rounds 2 and 3. 2, of course. Man, first of all, I need to talk about Tsarukyan's striking, because I was always on the train that his striking was not that amazing. Not bad, but just kind of average. But his fucking kicks are tremendous. He was throwing axe kicks. He was throwing high kicks. He was throwing lead high kicks. He was throwing nice body kicks. And I didn't see his striking as that good. I saw his striking as just kind of middle of the pack. And yeah, just like I said, middle of the pack. But he was even looking good on the feet. And then his ground and pound was very fucking vicious. I almost thought, like, if he landed a few more, the fight could have been stopped in round 2. He was throwing big elbows, big ground and pound. Yeah, man, Tsarukyan is going to be the guy that is going to give Islam Makhachev's toughest test. And I know he is now fighting Dustin in 302. I'm going to make a video about that, and I'm going to make a video about Conor, all that. But I really think if there's going to be a guy that's going to beat Arman Tsarukyan, beat Islam Makhachev, it's going to be Arman Tsarukyan. It's not going to be Charles. It's not going to be Dustin. But I really fucking want it to be. It's obviously not going to be Gaethje. It's not going to be Holloway. It's not going to be Benoit Saint-Denis for a couple years. It's not going to be any of these guys. If Arman Tsarukyan cannot put away Islam Makhachev, then nobody can at 155. And maybe no one can at 170. I don't know. I'm not even the biggest Islam fan, but he's just that much better than everybody else. And, man, I'm kind of mad that the Charles fight didn't happen, because I would rather him lose to Islam than lose to Arman Tsarukyan. But, yeah, man, I just wish Charles was more aggressive on the feet. I wish he had a more moving forward style like we saw against Dariush. I don't know why he was letting Tsarukyan walk him down on the feet, and I understand that could be because he maybe was fearing the takedown and fearing the double legs, but I don't know, man. Like, we didn't see him throw any head kicks at all, even though that was like the first strike he threw against Dariush, and he's got good head kicks. He was throwing him against Kevin Lee, throwing him against all these people. He knocked out Dariush, knocked him down with a head kick. Like, I don't understand why we didn't see any of those. He was really passive on the feet, and he's 34 years old. He's only going to get older. He didn't take too much damage, but chin looked good, by the way. Ate a lot of shots. Ate the axe kick. Pretty impressive. Chin looked very good. We didn't see him get dropped at all. Haven't seen him get dropped 2 fights. And it's a good thing, because his last, I think, 3 before that, he got dropped. So I think you have to have him fight Garbrandt. I think Tsarukyan is just going to wait out for a title shot. He already got his title shot, but he denied it, I guess. Probably because 302 is in June, and you need some time if you're going to face the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But yeah, man, it was very upsetting to see him lose. I was kind of shocked to see it. Actually, I wasn't shocked to see a split decision. I knew it was going to be a split, because I just know the judges. But I knew they weren't going to give it to him. The MMA gods are too cruel to give that to him. I'm very upset. There are some things that can be corrected in Charles' camp. There's some things that can be corrected, but yeah, man, it's very upsetting. But now we'll go to the next fight. We'll go to Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. Pretty underwhelming. I mean, I kind of like that we saw this fight go 2 rounds, you know what I mean? I'm kind of glad that we kind of didn't see it as a 30-second finish, as a 60-second finish. Now, at the same time, it's kind of concerning that it wasn't, because Cody Brundage is piss poor. Like, piss poor. bottom of the barrel in the UFC, not even just in the middleweight division. Bottom of the barrel, piss poor fighter. I like the guy too. I got nothing against him. I actually like the guy. He's a pretty cool dude. But I mean, we didn't really get to, despite it being almost into the third round, we didn't really get to see much of Bo Nickal on the feet. We saw him land a couple overhands. He still has that weird fucking striking. Like, I've never seen a fighter that strikes like him. Like, just the way he throws punches. Like, I wouldn't even call them winging punches. It's just the way he throws them. I don't even really know. It's just kind of weird. But, I mean, we saw a couple body kicks from him, but just immediately shooting for takedowns. It was a lot of just wet blanketing from Bo Nickal. He was threatening submissions basically the whole time. And I want to say he had 3 submission attempts. And then the final one was a rear naked choke, and he tapped him out. Cody Brundage. He's not going to get caught from the UFC because I don't think anybody who loses to Bo Nickal will get cut. I mean, Val Woodburn looked like shit against him, and he didn't get cut. And even in the fucking in the press conference after that fight, Dana was like, "Oh yeah, he's going to stick around." So he's not going to get cut, but he's like 10-6. He's beat nobody. He has 1 win against Jacob Malkoun, which he was losing, and he got a fluky, slam KO. So, Bo Nickal called out Roman Kopylov and Anthony Hernandez. Kind of interesting. Anthony Hernandez, I'm not gonna say he beats his ass, but Anthony Hernandez wins that fight clearly. Roman Kopylov, that could be interesting, because if Roman Kopylov can stuff takedowns, which he can't really. We saw that in his last fight, 299, I'm sorry. If he stuffs takedowns, he's just going to get KO'd. But also, there's I don't know. I think that's a good call-out, though. Yeah, it's cool that he didn't call out Hamzat, because he's always fucking running his mouth about Hamzat. Pretty fucking annoying. I'm glad he didn't call out, like, some top 3 guys, because it makes no sense for you to do that when you haven't fought anybody or beat anybody that's even close to the rankings. But, like I said, I kind of liked that it went 10 minutes, because you could kind of, you got to see more of him, because all of his fights were super quick finishes, so you got to see him go into the second round. You got to see him in different situations on the feet, albeit those were small, but, and short, I mean, not small, those were short exchanges on the feet, but we still got to see him. So, Bo Nickal, I'm not sure who to give him next. I'm going to make a next fight predictions for all these people and who they should fight next. Next fight is Jiri Prochazka versus Aleksandr Rakic. As a Jiri fan, I was pretty concerned and pretty nervous throughout basically all of the fight, to be honest. The entirety of the fight, he was just getting absolutely pieced up with the combinations. The chin on this guy and the will on this guy is like no other, by the way. This fight really shows how different Alex Pereira's power is, because he KO'd him with a check left hook on the back foot. He wasn't even planted. He didn't even plant and actually move into it. He was on the back foot, and it was a reactionary left hook. So his power is fucking insane. But Jiri Prochazka really needs to work on his head movement, and he said he would. He's going to work on his head movement and his striking defense. He said he would in the post-fight press conference. Thank God, because you're not going to beat Alex Pereira with that. You're not going to beat Jamahal Hill with that. They're like, you know what I mean? You're not going to be able to succeed when with the hands down style. Like, you gotta move your head. You gotta keep the hands up. You gotta keep some kind of guard. He doesn't keep a high guard, Logan. No, dude, his hands are in his pockets. Like, it's really fucking concerning. But he was getting his legs absolutely beat up, but he was just willing right through it. He was getting pieced up on the feet, getting hit with multiple punch combinations, willing right through it. And then he connects with a clean 1-2 and kind of stumbles him, and then he goes for the finish, hits him with a big knee up against the cage, and then Rakic kind of goes away towards the center of the cage, and then Jiri kind of like takes him down. It was considered a takedown, actually. It was called a take. It was in the stats. It was a takedown, but he really just like grabbed him kind of and just like pushed him down almost, and then was just raining down shots, and got the finish in round 2. Fucking love Jiri Prochazka, the most top 3 entertaining fighters on the roster. Top 5 favorites for me. He has to fight Jamahal Hill next. It's the only fight that makes sense. Yeah, man, I'm happy for him. He has a will like no other, like I said. Next fight is Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling gets it done by decision. This was a pretty boring fight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be like those people online that say he needs to be cut from the sport and he's the most boring fighter, in the division, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, it was a relatively boring fight. He didn't get much done. He took him down and controlled him. And it's kind of interesting because I never really viewed Aljamain Sterling's wrestling as that high level. Of course, he's a great grappler, but he always kind of struggled to land the takedown. He landed like 4 takedowns with like 30 attempts in the both in both the Petr Yan fights combined. So, and he's always kind of struggled to get people down a little bit. Took Henry down, not with ease, but he kind of had to work to get these takedowns. But against Kattar, like, I don't even think he got any of them stuffed. Like, he was just taking him down and basically wet blanketing him. We didn't see too many moments on the feet. He had like a nice like takedown where I don't know, some fucking WWE move or some shit where like he pulled him over and almost slammed him on his head, and I don't know. There's not really much to say for this fight. Aljamain Sterling looked good. He looked dominant. He didn't look great though, and of course he did not look entertaining. I'm not really sure who they're gonna give him next. I have a couple people that you could give him, like Brian Ortega. I think that would be a great fight. 2 grapplers, 2 great grapplers going at it. I think Aljamain Sterling looks rejuvenated, and he looks kind of like a different fighter in this new weight class. I think he belongs. He was just doing too much damage to his body, cutting down that much weight. I mean, the guy would balloon up to 180 out of camp. 180, like, I think 182 was his most, like, out of camp, which is ridiculous. So, but then when he's in camp, he was at, like, 160, because he had to cut down 25, and now he's still at 160, but he just has to cut down 15 pounds. And, yeah, I really think he belongs in this division. Like I said, there are quite a few names you could actually give him, to be honest. I mean, he beat a guy who was no fucking, no beast. I mean, he hasn't fought in a year and a half. His knees are destroyed. He's going through surgeries, and he's 36. So, he didn't beat a fucking Arnold Allen or an Evloev or, names like that. But I think it's still an impressive win. I mean, it's very impressive. I mean, yeah, it was boring, quite boring, but it was very impressive, and it was very dominant. And it's pretty cool to see. I like Aljamain Sterling. It's kind of funny how he was getting cheered at the press conference, and then he was getting booed in, like, round 2. Like, the fans will never like Aljamain. It is what it is. I like the guy. He's a nice guy. Yeah, maybe he's not the most entertaining, but who gives a fuck? I like the guy. Give him Brian Ortega. I like that matchup. Calvin Kattar, I don't really know. You're 36. You took 0 damage. You could fight tomorrow if you wanted. I don't know who you give him. Like I said, I'll make a detailed next fight predictions for these guys, but yeah, Aljamain Sterling looked good and he looked dominant, but he didn't look great. Holm versus Kayla Harrison, pretty good fight actually. I picked Kayla Harrison by decision. I figured it was going to be kind of a clinch fest. I figured Kayla Harrison was going to take her down and kind of control her there, and then maybe have some ground and pound moments here and there where she landed a couple elbows or a couple hammer fists. I thought it was going to be pretty boring. It was not boring. Kayla Harrison is just levels above Holm. And given that's not like, Holm is 42 years old. And Kayla Harrison is obviously juiced the fuck out of her mind. But I like Kayla Harrison. She called out Juliana Pena, and she called out Raquel Pennington, and I think she called out Amanda Nunes as well. I could be wrong. But yeah, Kayla Harrison just dominantly just controlled her on the feet. Controlled her on the ground. Rear naked choked her in round 2. Holm tapped in 2 seconds. Holm, probably retire. You're 42 years old. I don't even know why you're still fighting. She's probably just doing it for the money, because she probably gets some good money fights, because Holm was once a name that people cared about in 2016. 2024 now. That's a different story. Next fight, Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is the fucking man. A lot of people are comparing him to Charles Oliveira. I see it. This dude has crazy fucking potential while being a dangerous grappling artist. Has crazy knockout power. He's a massive 45er. He has crazy power in his hands. He was kind of getting hit a lot in the Evloev fight. He's kind of corrected his head movement. He's corrected his striking defense. Nasty kicks as well too. Nasty body kicks. Sodiq Yusuff is like kind of chinny, but like, man, like we've seen this power in Diego Lopes, and with the uppercuts too. We saw the uppercuts against Pat Sabatini in his last fight. UFC 295, that was? Yeah, Madison Square Garden, UFC 295. Yeah, man, Diego Lopes just showed levels, is extremely dominant. I'm very, very excited to see where this guy's going to go. I believe he's only 28 years old, still very young. He's got a lot of fights. He's got 30 fights already at the age of 28. Normally, you don't see that, but This guy is the real fucking deal. People are saying he's the real Charles Oliveira. Hey, man, I'm not totally mad at it. I'm not 100% ready to make that comparison, but, I mean, you could see it. I mean, good power in his hands, good on the feet, like Charles is, and a extremely dominant grappler and submission artist, like Charles is, and they're both Brazilian. And how do you not like Diego Lopes? He's a fan favorite. He doesn't speak a lick of English. Has never said an English word in his life, man. Extremely entertaining. I'm a big fan of the guy. I'm really interested to see who they're going to give him next. Because I hear people say, give him a top 5 guy, give him a top whatever guy. I don't know. Give him like a top 6 to 8, I would say. But, because I don't want to rush this guy too much. I mean, he already, in his UFC debut, looked tremendous on short notice against Movsar Evloev. And that loss has aged very well, considering Evloev is a fight away from the title, from fighting for the title. And since the Evloev fight, he's taken a big step down in competition. You've got Gavin Tucker, submitted him in the summertime. I don't remember what card that was. Maybe UFC Jacksonville? Maybe. I don't think it was UFC Paris. I don't think it was the Aspinall Taigura card. It might have been UFC Jacksonville. Oh, that's pointless. Oh, yeah, Gavin Tucker submits him with like a triangle armbar, I think it was. KO's Pat Sabatini, 295. KO Sodiq Yusuff. Sodiq Yusuff is kind of a bigger name and a better name, but I mean, he hasn't beat like a guy where you're like, oh, dude, what a fucking, oh my, he beat him? Like, you know what I mean? And that's not to downplay him at all. He obviously hasn't got to that point yet, but this is the time where you can kind of give him one of those names where you're like, oh, he beat that guy, wow. You know what I mean? So, very impressed with him. Prelim opener, Jalin Turner versus, early prelim fighter, Jalin Turner versus, I said early prelim fighter. Early prelim opener, Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. Jalin Turner continues to disappoint in fights that are kind of big. You know what I mean? Like, he can beat Bobby Green and then KO him and have a great performance. But he can lose against any grappler, and like he just has these underwhelming performances. He loses to Dan Hooker in UFC 290. Yeah, it was a close fight. But, dude, he broke his arm in the first round, and you can't capitalize off that. You can't be Dan Hooker, dude. Dan Hooker's like 22-13, man. And I know it's not just about records. It's about who these guys have beaten, who these guys have fought. But still, man, like, Jalin Turner had all this potential. He's 6'3". He's a 155er. He's a 6'3", 155er with great striking. He's got good power in his hands. He's long as fuck. He's even pretty good on the ground. He's got some submissions in the UFC. But he just continues to disappoint when you give him a name that is at his level or above, you know? And, I mean, he was getting dominated on the ground for the first 3 minutes of the first round. The first takedown was stuffed, and then he eventually got him down and was kind of just getting dominated on the ground. Then he fought back up to his feet. Then he knocks him down with 20 seconds left and tries to be a showboat, tries to put his hands up to try to, like, look cool and get the bonus. Fumbles the finish for whatever fucking reason. You had 20 seconds left in that fight. You could have jumped on him right there. Could have rained down shots. And then even when he turned back around and Moicano got up, he even pieced him up even there. And you could tell he was really hurt even after he got back up. You fumbled the fucking finish. Like, you have all these tools, man. Jalin Turner and Kevin Holland frustrate the fuck out of me because I always pick them and they always disappoint in stupid fucking ways. Like, they don't lose the technical battle. They don't lose the dude. They lose because, like, oh my gosh, any grappler, any person who's slightly competent in grappling will take him down, fucking pin him down. Gamrot's holding him down. Garbrandt can't hold down a fucking newborn baby. Like, this fucking pisses me off, man. I like Jalin Turner a lot, but he frustrates the fuck out of me because I always pick him, and he always disappoints. Like, he has so much potential, man. Like, 3 fights ago, like the Garbrandt fight, people were calling a robbery. I don't think it was. I think he fucking lost because he got held down and he didn't do enough. But, like, if you won that fight, if you beat Garbrandt, that's what UFC 285, March of last year, March 4th. If you win that fight, that gives you a guy in the top 6, 7. You win that fight, you're probably getting a #1 contenders fight. You win that fight, you're fighting for the fucking belt. And I know that's a stretch. I'm not going to say he was supposed to fight for the belt or he could have fought for the belt. But, like, dude, you have these moments where you can really capitalize and you can really take your career to the next step, and you fucking don't. And it pisses me off because I like the guy. But maybe it's just time to say he's not the dude that we thought he was back then, a year and a half ago. And we have to accept that he's just going to be one of these 10 to 14 guys. And he'll beat anyone ranked 10 to 14. Anyone ranked 8? Nah. He'll get fucked. He'll get shit on. He'll get held down He'll get submitted. He'll get TKO'd. I don't know, man. Moicano looked pretty good in the second round. And the first round, too, except the last 20 seconds. Moicano was an interesting case. I'm not really sure who to give him. People called for the Garbrandt fight. I disagree. I don't know. That's an interesting one to think about, but I think Moicano could make a name for himself. I'm not exactly sure how old he is. I want to say he's pretty young now. I want to say he's like 30-something. I don't know. But, yeah, man, it's pretty interesting. His last fight against Dober was really recent, by the way. Now that I think about it, wow, that was really fucking recent. That was like February. That was the Dolidze and Imavov card. But, I mean, he's not the most entertaining fighter in the actual cage, but when he, he's on the microphone, yeah, I mean, guy just fucking rambles on about nonsense for a few minutes, but yeah, he's all right. Next fight was, it was Bobby Green, Jim Miller. What a fucking war. I picked Jim Miller. It was kind of stupid, but I mean, in hindsight, it was stupid, but I mean, Bobby Green coming off a big, really bad KO loss 4 months ago. I mean, it's not crazy that I picked against him, but yeah, he looked really fucking good in this fight. He lost the first round. He got cracked a couple times in that round, near the beginning and near the end of the round, I believe it was. And then afterwards, he kind of just got in this flow state where he also fights with his hands down, where he's just fucking, it looks like he was sparring, it looked like he was sparring a new guy, to be honest. I don't mean to disrespect Jim Miller, but I mean, he was just letting his hands fucking go and made Jim Miller look like a fucking corpse at the end of the fight. And I'm really glad they didn't call it in the last few seconds, because he almost got finished on the ground in the last few seconds. I'm glad that Herzog let it kind of go. So it's like a moral victory, I guess, so he didn't get finished. It's probably going to be his last fight. He's 42. Took a ridiculous amount of damage. Probably the most damage he's ever taken in a fight. I haven't seen every single one of his fights. He's got 43 in the UFC. 26 and 17 in the UFC. I haven't seen every single one, but I can only imagine it's number one. If not, it's up there in the most damage he's taken in his fights. And you also pair that with the fact that he's 42 years old. I don't really see where he goes from there. I saw people saying give him Tony Ferguson. I don't see the point in that. I think they both should retire. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Bobby Green looked fucking great. He's another one of those guys where he'll beat a guy who's, in the 10 to 15 range, but if you give him a guy who's 7, 8, nah, he's going to get KO'd. He's going to get fucking, he's just going to lose a decision, clearly. But yeah, just looked fucking great. We haven't really seen his boxing like that. In my prediction, I was saying that he just has a piss poor 1-2 and a couple leg kicks, but that 1-2 was not piss poor at all. That 1-2 was cracking the fuck out of Jim Miller, and it was pretty interesting to see, and kind of sad to see, because I mean, who wants to see Jim Miller get battered? But just, man, like I said, it looked like the fucking that black belt that wants to roll with the white belts and kind of just shits on him, kind of like the dickhead of the gym. It looked like that. It looked like he was just sparring a new guy, like he was just letting his hands go. His hands were not even close to his chin at all, just completely at his hips, just letting the 1-2 go, letting the hooks go, just piecing him the fuck up. It was very impressive to see. I think he should take some time off, because it's still, I mean, dude, that KO that we saw 4 months ago in December was probably life-changing, probably took a little bit of time off his life. Yeah, I mean, he didn't take the most amount of damage, but he got cracked pretty big in the first round, twice, so maybe he was concussed from that, maybe he wasn't, who knows, but yeah, man, I really don't know who we should give Bobby Green next, because he's also really old. He's 37. He's got a lot of fights, too, and he's taken a lot of damage. And he obviously he's only in it for the fun fights, the money fights, but I don't know. The first fight of the night, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. I'm a Garbrandt fan. It was kind of sad to see. I said in my predictions that he's gonna stop the takedowns originally, but when he gets down there, we have no idea, because we've never seen him get taken down like that. We've never seen him even fight a grappler. Only grappler he fought was Pedro Munoz, and they stand and banged, and Munoz chinned him at the end of the first round. So like we've never seen him fight a grappler, never seen him fight a wrestler. Yeah, he fought Cruz. That fight was not on the ground at all. Yeah, we saw him fight Dillashaw, who was a collegiate wrestler, junior college wrestler, I think he was. That fight wasn't on the ground at all. So like to to predict how he was going to fare against a great grappler like Figueiredo, it's a completely blank slate because we have nothing to go off of. We've never seen him. Obviously, he's never been submitted, and he's never, like, I can't imagine he's been taken down that much, and we've just never seen him get in these grappling positions. And Cody Garbrandt won the first round too, man. I was excited. He looked good on the feet, stuffed some takedowns, and then Figueiredo got him down and was threatening submissions the whole time. He had an arm triangle that I'm really shocked that Garbrandt didn't tap to, because that choke was really cinched in. But fought the hands. He fought out of it. He moved to his right, got out of it. And then I think afterwards he got his back taken and then had him in a rear naked choke, which he didn't tap to. He got kind of out of it, where he fought the hands and then he got out of the choke. And then he didn't get back up to his feet in that second round. But then there was a second rear naked choke attempt, and he kind of, I'm not going to say he gave up, but I mean, he kind of got, like, excited that he got out of the first rear naked choke, and he thought he was fine. And then next thing you know, the second rear naked choke is cinched in, and he realized he couldn't do anything from there. And he didn't even try to fight the hands. And he just immediately tapped, and it was sad to see, man. I don't know where Cody Garbrandt goes from here. I didn't pick him to win this fight. I picked him to lose by decision. I originally thought he was going to get KO'd, but then I picked him to lose by decision. It's really fucking sad, man, because he was on a winning streak, albeit those were some shitty wins against Trevin Jones, who was like 14-11, against Brian Keller, who was old as hell and sucks. But I mean, like, I think he can still hang with people that are outside of the division, outside of the rankings, like the 16 to 25 range. I think he can hang with those guys, but if those guys happen to be grapplers, I'm not really sure. Yeah, man, I've heard people say give him Adrian Yanez. I guess that kind of makes sense. Yanez is coming off of 2 KO losses, KO'd by Rob Font in UFC 289, 287? One of the two, I don't remember. I think it was 289. And then he got leg kick TKO'd by Jonathan Martinez. So I guess that fight makes sense. But, I mean, if you got to give him a striker, you know what I mean? Because I think the UFC still likes Cody Garbrandt. They kind of like to market him still as the former champion Cody Garbrandt, even though that was 8 years ago. And he hasn't had, like, an impressive win since. But he's still kind of a name, you know what I mean? He's a name that people know. So I think the UFC is gonna give him a favorable matchup in his next fight, probably against a good striker, and yeah, man, Deiveson Figueiredo is probably a fight away from fighting for the belt, to be honest, because Merab is gonna go next, and Sandhagen Umar, who as crazy as this sounds, whoever wins that fight is probably gonna fight for the belt. If Umar wins, he's gonna get fast tracked to the title shot. You know what the UFC is? They see the last name Nurmagomedov. I mean, yeah, they're gonna to bow down to him and kiss his feet. But, and of course, if Sandhagen wins that fight, he's gonna get a title shot. I still think he's a fool for taking this fight. It's not confirmed yet, but it's agreed upon. I believe they don't have a date yet. Yeah, I think he's a fool for taking this fight. He could easily just sit out, and just get his title shot, because Merab's gonna fight Sean. We don't really know, because obviously he just fought 299. Sean is kind of inactive. And maybe I shouldn't say that, because, I mean, well, he fought in 280, but his next fight was 292. 280 was October of 2022, and then UFC 292 was August of 2023. So that's a ways away, you know what I mean? But then, yeah, he came back in 299, which was February of 2024. But and that was a 5-round fight, too. So, you know, because like he was coming off a 2nd-round KO where he took no damage, so he can kind of come back pretty quick. But I think he's going to take a good amount of time off, and I don't think that fight is going to be probably another 6 months, if I'm being honest. I mean, I can just see it happening. It's not going to be in the Sphere. And the Sphere is July. No, the Sphere's not July. No, the Sphere's July, I think. I don't know. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. It's going to be within 4 to 6 months. Figueiredo, give him Song Yadong, man. Give him... who could you give him? I don't know. There's a lot of good names. There's a lot of names between like the 4 and like 7 ranking spot, because I think he was ranked number 8 going into this fight, and Garbrandt was of course unranked. He was either like 8 or 9. I think it was number 8. So you can give him Song Yadong. That's a pretty good fight. He's coming off a very close loss. You can give him Peirera too. I think that works. But yeah, that was UFC 300, the best night of combat sports in the history, the best UFC fight card of all time. And yeah, man, that was one for the books. There's a lot of videos I'm going to make. I'm going to make fights to make for all of the winners and losers of this fight card. I have a Conor video to make. I have a Islam and Dustin Poirier video to make. So keep your eye for those. And yeah, like and subscribe. And tell me what you guys think in the comments.